Welcome to the Beyond Pain podcast with your hosts, Joe Gambino and Joe LaVacca. Join the two Joes, two physical therapists, as they discuss how to navigate the uncertainties of pain so you can move beyond it and get back to the activities you love most. This podcast is for Joe, and their guests to share their clinical thoughts and ideas based on their collective clinical experiences. Can this information be for you? Maybe, but we cannot know for sure. Therefore, it is always worth talking to your healthcare provider to make the best decisions in your care before you implement anything on this podcast. And please use common sense.
Welcome back into the Beyond Pain podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joe Gambino, and I am here with the incredible Dr. Joe LaVacca. Yeah, I got myself on that one. Yeah,
that was
right.
Like, even you, as you were saying it, you were like,
I was like, wow, this
little vomit came up.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I meant every word of it, Joe. You can find us on social media. Instagram is where we're most active. I'm at Joe Gambino DPT, and LaVacca over there is @strengthinmotion_PT. His podcast is also on Instagram, the Beyond Pain Podcast. Actually, it's just Beyond Pain Podcast. And you can also find it on YouTube if you want to look at we want to call them beautiful mugs, ugly mugs. Maybe we're somewhere in between. I think somewhere in between, at least for me. You got the beautiful mug over there, the nice beard line looking good on you. You can find us on YouTube as well at @cups_of_Joe_PT. Now, we're talking about goals today. I think this is a good one. I mean, this episode will be launched, I think, just after the new year. So as everyone's all excited to reach their goals, their fitness and health goals this year, I think this will be a really nice one. I always like to kind of rehash these things because I think goal setting is incredibly important and hopefully keeps people on track and not fall off the wagon. So you did mention this analogy right before we hopped on. I think it will be perfect because as people are super excited with New Year's resolutions going on, you could either use the analogy or you can talk about it in another way. But what would you say, you have someone coming in to see you or just maybe like it's a friend or family member talking to you. What kind of advice do you have someone to make sure that they are not the person that falls off in February from their New Year's resolution high?
Yeah, I think this is the time of the year where gyms really love. It's buy one, get one free memberships. It's pay up front for 50% off the whole year because they know people are very gung-ho. They know that they're willing to extend their wallets and their credit cards for all sorts of health benefits because it's a new year, it's new me. And I get it. And I'm all for that. And when it comes to a lot of behavior change type stuff, or making big decisions, there does seem to be some connection to doing it to the first of a month, the beginning of a week, like a Monday, or at the start of a new year. So, or even like a birthday. So there's always something symbolic about milestones. And I think because of the new year, a lot of people kind of want to wash away the year that's passed and always either improve or try to get better in some way for the year ahead. So I heard an interesting analogy about behavior from Britt Frank, and she wrote a book. It's really wonderful called The Science of Stuff, and why we kind of are, or why some of us are good at behavior change and why some of us aren't. And she gave this really great analogy about a chessboard. And the chessboard, for those of you who play chess, consists of pawns and then all your rooks, kings, queens, knights in the back row. If you play chess, the only way you can move your back row is by moving your pawns first. So if you're itemizing some ideas on the things that you want to do, let's just stick with this idea of moving and maybe working out. I want to work out 2 days a week. All right, well, maybe step one is I have to do research on a gym or gyms in my community. That would be a pawn. You have to take care of that one thing first before you can move on. If a gym is not for you, all right, well, I'm going to work out at home. Well, before I start looking up days of the week, program, I probably need to get equipment that allows me to be successful at home. That could be another pawn. And then you can set a budget. I'm willing to spend, $50 on gym equipment for my home. I'm willing to spend X amount on a gym membership per month. but it's breaking things up into these tiny, tiny goals. Then the next one then becomes, well, what days of the week are going to be least sort of, I guess, deterring for me to be successful? And it doesn't matter what 2 days of the week they are, but it's probably going to be very important you put this on a calendar and or alert people in your life, whether it is a spouse, whether it is children, whether it is friends. If you have the type of flexibility at work, just sort of alert your coworkers, hey, on Monday and Thursday at 8 to 8:30, I'm probably not going to be available unless there is an emergency. And I think if you put that out there to your spouse, your family, your friends, they know it's important. They know they could probably wait a half hour to get in touch with you. There probably isn't anything going to be that serious that comes up with the kids, God willing, within that half hour time period that you carved out. But I think it starts with mini goals that are the easiest things for you to do to then chip away at moving that back row of your chessboard, which would then be, hey, I'm actually starting my stopwatch and I'm working out. Things that also pop up a lot for people is, I need actually gym clothes. That could be another pawn move, right? And it doesn't have to be something from Lululemon. It could be something from Old Navy or Fabletics, whatever, right? But get the mindset. Other people already have stuff in their homes, but it's in a closet somewhere. So I've talked to a few people just in the past week. They're like, oh yeah, I got this yoga mat. I got this. I got that. I got to go find it. And I'm like, great. That's going to be your homework this week. I want you to find your yoga mat. I want you to find your bands. Tell me what colors and things you have. And then I want you to just lay it out somewhere. Literally, leave it out in your living room, your kitchen. Now you've set up a space. So whether or not you use that space, the space is set up. That was another pawn move, right? And I think these are really important shifts in mindset, in environment, in even kind of social connections to bring other people involved to help you with these goals that are so often overlooked because I think people end up putting too much pressure on themselves to be successful. And then stress piles up because they don't have the resources to be successful. So branching out, change the big things, alert your community, change your environment, and then build on those little small habits or reminders that are going to push you towards success. So that's how I would encourage most people to think about behavior change. What analogies, advice, tips will you give to your clients at the start of the new year?
Yeah, I really like that, how you laid that out. And just kind of like, I wouldn't say overly different. I love how you used the pawn analogy and brought it to like things that nobody ever thinks about is like all the shit that you need to like even just get started with the goal that you want. Like if you're new to fitness and you have none of this stuff, well, how do I have access to that stuff? But just in general, like when you're doing goals, like I will do the exact same thing as you, right? Like you take these small goals, like these pawns, and you're going to try to work your way to, like that you're going to use to like almost like build your way up to the big goals. But I start with the big goal and then I work backwards, right? Okay, well, if you're looking to not have pain, right, that's your goal. Well, what does that mean, right? Like what kind of things are you not going to have pain with? Like, so people, when I ask people these questions, they don't have answers for these things, right? Like you should have an answer on like, what does pain-free life look like to you, right? Is it just like, I never have pain like when I do anything? Is it when I don't have pain when I'm just like sitting down? Is it when I go for a run or like some sort of meaningful activity, right? So when you know what kind of things you want to get to, you can start to break it down. Like, well, what do I even need to do? Like, well, if I want to run, but I can't walk without pain, well, maybe the first goal needs to be like, can I walk without pain? Not can I run without pain, right? Like, so now you can start to like break it down to these goals that are more realistic, that make sense, that will move you up towards the goal that you want. So I really liked that. And I always think start with the big goal in mind and then work your way backwards until you get to a point of where you're starting from. And then once you have that laid out, now every time you like reach a goal, you have a win, you're going to feel better about it, right? It's going to give you more momentum to continue to go. You're not going to fall off in February because instead of thinking about needing to run and you can't run February 1st because you still have pain. Well, if you're like, well, every time I got out of my chair, my knee hurt and now it doesn't hurt when I get out of a chair, like you've already had this like nice, wow, I'm already feeling better, right? Like it's just momentum to build on. So I like that as a thought process. The other thing, there's two things that you also said that I think are vitally important. One, using a calendar. That goes just like having a plan in place. For me, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't get done. So putting something in your calendar is super important to like actually making sure it's important to you and things are you're actually going to do it. On that same note, write down your plan. Don't just go to the gym with nothing in mind. Like, what days of the week are you going? It's in your calendar, and plus on a piece of paper, something that you printed out, a program that you pull off the internet, whatever it is, you have that plan walking into the gym so that you can just go do it. You don't have to go in there and then have this paralysis by analysis. Like, oh, well, what do I do here? Oh, maybe I'll do this. Oh, someone's on that. Oh my God, I don't know what to do now. And then you're not going to do anything, right? You're just going to end up on like the treadmill walking for 20 minutes and then walking out, right? It's, especially if like you're not doing anything. These are kind of like at least the approach. If you've been doing something already, having the goals and having a plan, specific to that will help you be a little bit more focused. I think specifically on those goals is probably less of an issue of getting in the gym than it is for someone that's new. And then this is a strength faction thing that we talked about last episode, but having an accountability buddy. So they paired you with somebody in the program so that you had somebody to riff off, use as motivation, and if you did fall off, to pull you back in. And a little aside on how this worked for me is when I was working at my first gym as a personal trainer, the Matrix, which is in Queens, in Astoria. I don't know why at some point it was like, I think I was just starting PT school. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to gain 26 pounds. I'm going to go from, I don't know where I was.
Very
it was
specific.
It was to get to 185. So I guess I was like, in and around 160 pounds. And I was like, I'm going to get to 185 and it was January. And I was like, I'm going to do it by June. So 6 months, I'm going to put on 25 pounds. And I told everyone in my gym, I told all my coworkers, and, I like to shoot the shit with people. I like to give them a hard time. So they all give it back to me, which was perfect for this, because when I told them all, if I didn't reach my goal, I was going to get a lot of shit for it, right? So extra motivation, I'm tied to something. So it helped kind of tie me to it. It was a lot of food I had to eat. I was like constantly full, but at the end of it, I got to 185. The only time I've ever been up there. I was able to maintain it for a little while. I lost it when I graduated from PT school because I don't just have the time to sit in class and eat all day. But yeah, I did it. And I think that was a really big part of it. It's like, I have this plan in place. I told all these people, and now I'm tied to them. So having, I think, an accountability buddy or somebody that you're, whether it's your spouse or workout partners are the best. I think the most fun I've ever had in a gym, and when like I saw like a huge progress, is like the first gym I ever joined. We had this group of like 5 people that we'd always go to the gym with. So you always had somebody in there, and we would always push each other, talk shit to each other, like things like that. And you just like always are working hard because you just couldn't like go to the gym that day and just be like, I'm gonna just like not really do anything today. Like, no, that somebody in there's gonna be like, nah, you need to get on it, right? So there's really something to say. If you can find, like, it's really hard to find, like, especially now, I work at my gym. If you can find a good workout partner, it's like an invaluable asset to like actually moving towards your goals. So I put a high priority in that one. Put it in your calendar, have a plan, get somebody to attach this to hold you accountable, and then just make sure you have some goals and just start from the big goal, work your way back, and then get as granular as like, what do you need to get started? I think if you could do that, you're going to be in the 1% of people that are trying to get into their health and actually reach a goal this year.
Right. Absolutely, Matt. Couldn't have said it better.
Anything else? I don't know where else you want to go with this.
No, I think that wraps it up nicely. I think we can always come back and maybe revisit this come February and check in on how people are doing. I gotta say, man, of all the things that you highlighted there, I was blown away that you gained that much weight in 6 months. I mean,
yes, it was.
I've been trying to put on 2 pounds of body mass over the last 3 years, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
It's much slower these days for me. I was at one point because there's a lot of slacking in most recent times. I've been really, really good this year. I went from like 155, and I think I'm somewhere in like a 160 or 167. And I've kind of stalled here. So, really it just comes down to just like prioritizing and eating more. So I think my goal by end of this year, or maybe by summer, I'll do it. And maybe I'll have the podcast to hold me accountable for it.
There we
Is
go.
175 by summer. So maybe another 8 or so pounds on top. That'll be nice. I don't know if I need to be 175, but yeah, it's realistic. I say anywhere between 170 and 175, I'd be happy. It means that some more size is coming on, which I haven't really prioritized in a while, but for whatever reason, we're here. So be the alpha dad of the community.
I love it. Well, if you're not going to be the alpha, what's the point?
Exactly, right? All right. Maybe what we'll do, Joe, is because I've already done most of my goal setting for this year, but you should, if you haven't done yours, do yours, and maybe we'll share our goals. I'm at the top of an episode or do a whole episode. Maybe that's one episode we'll do.
With self-reflection episode. All right. I like it. I look forward to that one.
All right. Well, take us home then if there's nothing else.
All right. Well, Joe, as always, I love you. Thank you for your time today. Listeners, we love you. Thank you for your time. And don't forget to come back next week for another exciting episode of the Beyond Pain